Welcome to Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine. Today's musical selection is It Must Have Been Moonglow, way up in the blue. It must have been moonglow that led me straight to you. I still hear you saying, dear one, hold me fast. Oh Lord, please let this last. We seem to float off through the air. Heavenly songs seem to come from everywhere. And now that there's a moon glow way up in the blue, I'll always remember that moon glow gave me you. I still hear you saying, Lord, hold me fast. And I keep on praying, oh Lord, please let this last. We need to float on through the air. Heavenly songs seem to come from everywhere. And now that there's a moon glow way up in the blue, I'll always remember that moon glow sent me you. That moon glow sent me you. That moon glow sent me you.
Woo! Okay, one of these days I'm gonna not do that. But I was like, that moon glow is you. So I don't do that note nearly as perfect as I do. Woo! All right, beautiful person. Lynette, my minister of flavor and musical vibes. Thank you, sis.
All right.
Fam, what's good with you? I am Alexis Roan, aka Alexis Grace, founder of Truth Meets Story LLC, expanding empathy one story at a time, and host of Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine at Vespers, a faith and adult storytelling series. By faith, I mean we explore the mystery of how God shows up or how God is perceived absence in our lived realities and the lived realities of our adult folks. And by adult storytelling, I mean stories told to adults, by adults, for adults who have a developed adult context. I want to give a shout out to Chris over at Juiced Up. He and I were talking. I went over there. I had Lynette had told me about this. It's a Black-owned juice shop, and they have jewelry, and they have books and art, and they have a natural hair care salon. And Chris was the barber. He's the barber stylist. And so, he was showing me around the spot. It was beautiful. And I'm sipping right now on, this is the Cucumber Invigorator. And I like, this is a good choice. But anyway, so Chris and I were talking. He moved to he moved to North Carolina from New York. I moved from the West Coast. And so we were just kind of, chatting. And when I told him what I did, I said, I produce live storytelling, like adult nights of storytelling. And he was like, "Ooh, you got a card." So I handed him a card, and he looked at the image, and the card that I handed him was of it was a screenshot of the audience for one of my live events. And he looked, and he was like, "Now, adult storytelling is like, now your card don't look like it's erotic." I'm like, "Because it's not erotic, Chris. It's adult storytelling." So I am mad at the whole erotica industry for like straight hijacking the concept of adults. I would love to be able just to say, "Oh, I'm a storyteller." But when I say that, then people start booking me at their 7-year-olds' birthday parties. I would not be appropriate for your 7-year-olds. Sorry. But I am appropriate for the audience for Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine at Vespers. And I am so glad that y'all are here with me this evening. I'm super excited about today. I'm hoping that you don't hear the thunder in the background. And I'm also hoping that the tornado, that, you know, that the warning keeps coming up. I have declared that tornado is just going to pass right over here. So we're going to continue to be able to keep this moving, because this is important work that we're doing right here. This is good stuff that's happening right here. And I'm just not, I'm not prepared for a tornado to interrupt our time together tonight. So I'm just going to decide, okay, tornadoes, I'm gonna need y'all to skip over. You skip over all of Raleigh. You can just, dissipate. Like, I have decided that that's what I need for the tornadoes to do, because what we're doing here tonight is important. So Chris, thank you. Hope you're watching. He said that he was going to throw me up on the big screen over in the barbershop area of the of Juiced Up. So I'm so excited to be able to meet new people and to just be who I am, show up without apology, to give context, to help people know, hey, you're adult, I'm adult. We got some stuff we need to talk about. And the most palatable way for us to have some of these conversations is through story. It's through story. So I was thinking about a series of stories that I have with Emma Means. That's my mama. Mama, if you're in the virtual pew, say hey to the people. Mom is my first construct of God. When I think about who God is, and when I would read the biblical narratives, particularly the prophetic texts, the King's Annals, the historical annals, when I'd read them and there'd be all of this rich story about this particular people and their particular God, I always found it interesting that, like, can't y'all just do what y'all supposed to do? Like, duh, like, we don't even need all of this extra stuff. But they always just seem to have a hard time doing that. And it was so funny to me that, if you just do the right thing, then, all will go well with you. Or that's how it's supposed to go. Or at least that's what Emma Means always told me. Look, just do the right thing and you're going to be good. Everything, everything is going to be fine. But she was my first image of God, like how I constructed God, in that she was a provider. And she was a provider who did not require that I do all of my homework, or that I behave, or that I even be respectful. So just kept providing. Like, I got to eat every day. I got to sleep indoors every day, no matter how I showed up in the house, in the world. She did that for me. She said that that's what love looks like. Love feeds your children. So she loved me enough to give me three square meals every day. And then she let me sleep every day. I got my own room even. I had to share my bathroom with my brother, Mike. Hey, Mike, love you. But she was my provider through the good and the bad, no matter what was going on. The other thing that she was, though, was the corrector. She was the punisher. But before there were any punishments, and I didn't like to be punished at all. I didn't want to be grounded, and I didn't want to catch her hands. Like, so I tried as best I could if I was going to act up, look, I was just going to hide it, because I didn't want to. I didn't want no issues with Emma Means. She was effective as a punisher, but she was also reasonable in that she would warn me. Now, in her warning me, she's like yelling, da, 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 like just like screaming, "I told you," da, 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 and then I'm sitting there like, oh Lord, there she go again, like all that yelling, like what's the point? What are we doing that for? But when she got quiet, it would be when she would say two things. She's yelling, yelling, yelling. But there were two things that she delivered, like just cool, just kind of no expression in the face. two things that she would say. The first is, I can show you better than I can tell you. If ever Emma Means said, I can show you better than I can tell you, then whatever happened next, if I did not quickly reform and repair, it was just going to be problematic. It was going to have some problems in the camp. And so I'm like, oh, so when I hear that, I knew the fades of black. I can show you better than I can tell you. The second thing that she would say deadpan was, what I say. What I say. Whenever she said, what I say, it meant that there was nothing that anybody else could add that would reign supreme over whatever it was that she said. When we lived in this apartment complex at Southeast Houston, South Park Village. And, you know, Mom, she always was, wherever we lived, her aesthetics in the home were always so beautiful. She just, you know, she just always had our home. Every space that we've ever lived has always been so beautiful because of the way that she, you know, just styles up our living situation. And so little kids would see our house, you know, we'd open the curtains and they'd see the house and they'd be like, oh no, can we come in there? Can we come in your house? Can we come in your house? Now, I knew the answer was no, because Mama was like, I don't want all that, you know, y'all stay outside and play somewhere. But they'd be like, come on, like, you know, we'll be real quiet if we, you know, like when we playing with your easy bake oven. But I'm like, no, my mom was like, she don't like me to have company. Well, just go ask her, like, tell her we'll be quiet, we'll be quiet. So I go in there and say, Mama, my friends want to come in the house and play with my easy bake oven. And everybody promised to be quiet. And she was like, no, y'all stay outside. Like, you know, with all of that, I don't want all that. I was like, but Mama, everybody said that they would be quiet. And then she say, what I say. And at that point, there was nothing else for me to say. What I say had already been spoken. And so I went outside after, you know, tuck my tail between my legs and just be all like shame and stuff and be like, my mama said, like, y'all can't come in. She said we could just stay outside and make all the noise we wanted. And so it was always really frustrating, but I appreciate that now, because as I image God, as I read through the scriptures, and as I listen for that still small voice, for those directives, those the gifts of God's insight, the gentle warnings, all of that, I still hear God as a Black mother telling me, I can show you better than I can tell you. And what did I say? That came up specifically in the middle of the pandemic, when one of my sister friends, I guess I was either tagged on a Facebook post or maybe she sent me an email. For some reason, I remember being a part of a mass group receiving this message. She was selling jewelry. Now, what was interesting was I have been, for like since 2015, I've been reading what I call the Bible that Jesus read. So that's mostly the prophetic text. And so I think I had just read Hosea. And in the 4th chapter, there's this really funny scripture where the prophet says, y'all out here praying to sticks. Y'all asking sticks to help y'all with the future, to give you some insight in the future. Y'all look like fools. And so on the side of that verse, like in my translation, I have like hilarious, like laugh out loud or whatever. So I get this message from a sister friend who's selling jewelry. And she is using rocks, natural rocks. And in the post, she's talking about the healing qualities of the rocks. Now I'm like, okay, you know, your rocks got healing qualities. I'm not debating that. But I was looking at the color, the content, the shape of the rock. Like, you know, that was kind of my thing. I was trying to, you know, pair it with my outfits or whatever. But one of the rocks that she was, that I was interested in because of the color, she said, and this rock would be good for your voice. Now, here's the thing about my voice. It's beautiful. It's strong, it's loud, and it always has been. So somebody coming and telling me about a rock that's going to help my voice be beautiful, it was like I'm kind of already there. It's always been that. And, but I start to think, well, maybe it can be more beautiful. Like maybe there's more that my voice is going to do. So I placed my order and I order the jewelry with these natural rocks on it. The jewelry arrives. I have a live, like some sort of panel event or something. I was gonna be on like live stream on some event. I'm either a featured person or I'm a panelist. I cannot remember exactly. I think it was a panelist because I remembered putting on my jewelry, and I'm like, ooh, this particular one will pop. Oh, and also it's gonna help my voice. So put it on, and they're going through the panel and they're having everyone introduce themselves. And when it gets to me, I kid you not, when I tried to open my mouth and speak, it was like nothing came out. And I'm like, oh Lord, what's going on? I'm looking around trying to see. I look down, I see that rock, and then I hear God say, I can show you better than I can tell you what I say. I snatched that mess off me so quickly. Even snatched my earpiece off. I snatched it off so quickly and I threw it off to the side and my voice returned. And then I was able to introduce myself. And then at the end of that panel, I shut down the Zoom and I look over at that rock and I'm like, okay, I look like a fool, knowing that I've always had a strong voice, but somehow this rock is going to give me some additional strength or power or whatever. I hear God saying, I can show you better than I can tell you. And what did I say? I look like a fool, but that was not even the thing that I was left considering. Not so much that I look like a fool. I feel like everything happened quick enough where it just looked like that maybe there was like some sort of computer glitch or something. You didn't know that my whole voice got snatched. But I remember thinking, the Lord is near. The Lord is near. And that's only scary news if you choose to buck God when God says, what I say, what I say. The Lord is near, and what I say is not scary unless you've decided that, like, yo, well, I want to do what everyone else is doing. But I have made a choice that this is how I order and I honor my the gifts of my insight. I order my life, live according to God's patterns, according to my convictions, and no shade for anybody who's got them rocks. No shade to anybody who sees them, the healing and has experienced the actual healing elements of the rock. What I experienced was my voice being snatched. And then I fell out laughing. I threw that stone away. I kept it moving. My voice has been strong ever since. And that, when I tell this story, I am simply reminded that I am located. And life is good when I lean into what I already know. What I am grateful for about the person that you're about to hear from tonight, our featured storyteller. I often say of her, through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. But the person who originally wrote that says, and grace will lead us home. What I say about this person is through many dangers, toils, and snares, she has already come. And all of them toils and snares that she's come through, it's easier to hear them stories when you just pour yourself a cocktail. Fam, she is hilarious. She is beautiful, and she is located. I want you to hear this particular story, and I want you to receive her in the spirit in which she comes. So just be ready to take this all in. And then we're going to engage with her after this story, because I promise you, we just don't have time for all of it. You're probably going to have some questions. And then there are other stories that like dovetail from this piece. I've already told them I have to feature you in other stories. But we're going to have some time with her after this particular piece. But until then, please welcome Miss Toya Coleman as she dresses her truth in story.
Hello there. Hope all is well. So listen, I love being a Black woman. I love our diversity in color. I love our diversity in hair. I love our diversity in attitude because the women, we can bring it. And I love being a Black woman and I love my Black sisters, but I have to confess, it has not always been that way. And so what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about is my journey that way. So my journey, I'm going to actually pick it up in high school, but before I do, I need to give you just a little bit of background. So in junior high, in the 8th grade, I was in the drill team. So my parents had to buy me a uniform. When I made it to the 9th grade, I made officer. So they had to buy me a uniform. So by the time I got to the 10th grade, my father was like, listen here, the struggle is real. We can't keep buying all of these uniforms. You need to find something else to get in. And so I did. I was in the ROTC. Hey, much love for the brothers and the sisters, but I hated it. I stayed in the ROTC for 1 year and could not wait until I was out. My parents agreed to get me a uniform for the 11th grade if I made the drill team. Thank God. Tried out for the drill team, made it. So all was going pretty well. So as you all may know, at the end of a year, you try out for officer for the upcoming year. So when I'm in the 11th grade, I try out to be officers, and people try out to be an officer for their senior year. So listen, I just got in the drill team. So truth be told, I have no desire to be an officer. I already had a plan. Here was my plan. I'm going to be in the drill line, just a regular person in the drill line. I'm going to have come to practice. I'm going to show up, learn my little dance, and then just show up for the game on Saturdays. Seemed like a good plan to me. I don't have to be an officer or anything. So when they make the announcements to start trying out for officer, I start getting a lot of little feedback from people, like the drill team sponsor. You need to try out for officer. You need to try out for officer. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm a pass. I got a plan. Then the current officers of that year, they start going on. You gotta make sure you try out. You gotta make sure you try out. I didn't really, and I kept saying no. Finally, my good friend, her name is Jacqueline. Jackie said, Toya, I want to try out. So you should try out with me. She actually went ahead and signed up. I'm still going back and forth. She said we can practice our dances together and all of that. Now you have to know my relationship with Jackie. Jackie was my road dog. We used to go to games together in the city and out of the city. She used to come over to our house so much. My father used to say, what's your social security number? Because I'm going to write you off on my taxes as a dependent. I mean, Jackie was my friend. So when she asked me to try out for officer, I relented and went ahead and tried out. So listen, I'm going to change one name to protect the innocent. I'm going to call her Sharon. So Sharon, one of the ladies in the drill team who was also trying out for officer, she was actually, I think everyone would agree, the best dancer in our drill team. She agreed to make the uniform that I was going to have to dance in to try out for officer. Went to her house. She measured me and everything, made me the cutest little dress. I had to make up a routine, had to do a field formation, did all of that. Tried out for officer, we good. So, every year, officers are announced at the athletic banquet. So what they do is they announce the officers from the lieutenant on up. So I'm at the athletic banquet with my road dog, Jackie. We're sitting there, we're doing it. It's time for the officers, for the drill team. So they announce Jackie's name. They call her name, Lieutenant. Yay, good for Jackie. So they go on. Then they say, co-captain Sharon Jones, the leading contender for captain. So now everybody's like, Then they say 1977 to 78 drill team captain Toya Coleman. Wait, what now? So you know how you have those moments where everybody's excited? Yeah, this was not one of those moments. That squad, she jumps up, they run out. Everybody's looking at me. I'm looking back at them because I'm just as shocked as they are, because I don't even want to be an officer. That's the piece I really, really need y'all to understand. I had a plan. I'm going to come to practice. I'm going to show up 1 or 2 days, show up Saturday. I'm good. This was a mess. I mean, it was a big mess. So I go home after the banquet, go in the back. My mother says, so, how'd everything go? Did you make officer? I said, yeah, I got captain. She's like, oh, babe, congratulations. And in true form, my father's like, do I have to buy you another uniform? I said, yeah, well, I guess so. And he was like, oh, okay, turn the light off. We're going to sleep. Go to school the next day. Even my brother, who was a senior at that time, he says, so, what's going on? Your name is everywhere. They mad at you. They say you stole something. I said, how can I steal something, A, that was given to me, and B, that I did not even want? I don't even have to be captain. So I go to the drill team sponsor the next day. I think one of the things that I believe anybody who knows me knows is I'm a problem solver. So in my mind that night, I'm already like, here what we going to do? We are going to just put me back in the line, put her up at captain, and we're going to keep it moving because that's okay with me. I go back to the drill team sponsor. She is not having it at all. She says, let's see, how can I say it? Sharon was intellectually incapable of handling the position. So she's like, you either get out of the drill team. That's the only way you're not going to be captain. So I go ahead. I just relent, stay in the drill team. They proceeded, her and her squad, honestly, to make the rest of my 11th grade year hell. They stole clothes from me. They stole clothes from her. If we're walking down the hall or something, you would hear these little snide comments. I remember one time being in the lunchroom. I'm sitting on one side. A fight breaks out. They're calling my name in the fight. I'm not even close to the fight, but they just had to call my name. They had to keep my name in their mouth just to start stuff. My mom and my drill team sponsor really encouraged me. Take the high road. Don't let them go on and on with you. You don't need to let them upset you. There were so many times after the last game, last day of school every year, they all gonna beat me up. I mean, I had cousins coming up there one year because it's gonna be the big fight. So it was pretty tough all of my 11th grade year and all of my 12th grade year. So listen, let's fast forward to senior day. So senior day, I'm at senior day in the auditorium of the school. I'm sitting next to my friend Jacqueline. I am not exactly sure how this happened, but it's me, it's Jackie, and then all of her squad on the rest of the row. How'd that happen? So my senior year, I got most popular. When they call that category, I have to get up, go get my little plaque that they were going to give us, right? As soon as I get up, one of the ladies put her leg up and blocked me from being able to walk by. Look, I'm up to here now. I'm ready to take some earrings off. I mean, I literally looked at her like, is that what we fixing to do? We fixing to bust this auditorium out? Now, I did not say a word, but it was all over my face. I'm about to kick your butt right here in this. She lowered her leg just enough for me to step over it. I go up and I get my award. But you know what that did? That was it for me. I was tired of being around women. I was tired of being around Black women. I was tired of being around people. I have a new plan. Y'all ready? I'm going to go and live on the mountain with a bear. I know y'all laughing. I'm serious though. That's what I decided to do. I even called Marcellus Zoo in Dallas and asked them, how much does it cost to get a bear? because I need some protection. I'm in the wilderness, right? I didn't want to use the bear for a circus or nothing. This is personal use. So she said, I'm gonna call you back. And y'all know that lady did not call me back. But anyway, that's what she told me. She flat lied to me. I was in a serious situation. She didn't care nothing about it. So a lady, my Sunday school teacher, Faye Morrison, she says, okay, first of all, that's a stupid idea, going to live on a mountain with a bear. It's a stupid idea for you not to go to college. If you're not going to do either one of those. So you need a real plan. So that's what I did. I decided I was going to go and apply for a real job. I applied at Southwestern Bell, the phone company. Listen, they got real benefits. They got a union with real pay. I mean, hey, this is the job right here. This is what I'm going to do. I graduated from high school at 17. So I actually had to wait because they did hire me. I had to wait until I was 18 to start my job. So I was a zero operator. Dial zero a long time ago. You young bloods don't know nothing about that. But you dial zero and you get me. I was operator 702. Operator 702. What I did not know at 18 is that Silly really doesn't have an age limit. I get to the phone company. As it turns out, those women were twice as silly, twice as petty, twice as catty. Now, it didn't have anything to do with me. I'm a kid. They probably thought I was up there to babysit some kids or something. So they're not addressing any of this with me. I'm on the outside looking in. But you see them, they're going back and forth. I can't believe you turned me in. I can't believe you told a supervisor. I saw you talking to my boyfriend at happy hour. I mean, it was one thing after another. I am like, oh my God. I talked to a school teacher that I actually had developed a friendship with, and she had a sister who was a manager at the phone company. She called her. I got transferred over to her department, and she went on to become a mentor for me. Her name was Linda Glover. So she taught me what to do, what not to do, and all of that. And so Linda Glover called me into a meeting. It was her and her second line boss. And they were going to let me know that, hey, listen, fortunately, the phone company feels like you have some potential, and we just want you to know that we're going to fast track you for management. I said, okay, Linda smiling, it's all good. As soon as that manager left, I so remember this so vividly. I remember what I had on. I remember what she had on. I remember the area that she pulled me off to the side. She said, do not take this position until you get a degree. I'm a first line manager. I will never be nothing more than that. They do not promote here without a degree. You need to have a degree. So listen, I have two people running that same narrative to me at the same time. I happened to meet a guy at a pool party, tall, dark, reasonably handsome. He was going to Xavier, and he was doing an internship in Dallas when I met him. And I remember how curious he was. Now, why didn't you go to college? I said, I just didn't want to go. Oh, okay. He let it go. About 2 weeks later. So you didn't want to get loans for college? No, I just didn't want to go. Oh, okay. About a week and a half later. Did you consider going to college in the Dallas area? Right? So I'm having both of them going on and on about this. So let me tell you something. Sometimes we don't respect the sovereignty of God. God's plan for your life is the plan for your life. And sometimes God speaks to you in a whisper, just the quietness of a boyfriend talking to you. Sometimes he speaks to you with a little bit of a firmer voice, maybe from a mentor seeking wise counsel, giving you wise counsel. But sometimes God has to raise his voice. From the summer of 1978 to the summer of 1980, Here's what happened. My road dog, Jackie, my friend, she was murdered. Her boyfriend killed her, burned her up in the back of a car. My friend in the funeral home business says that a scream was charred on the remains of her face. I was abducted at gunpoint, driven outside the city of Dallas. Thank God I was let go. I continued to be stalked by a paranoid schizophrenic who just would not let me go. So I had a real job, made real bills, saved up, moved into an apartment. I had saved up so that day one, when I moved into my apartment, it was fully furnished on day one. On day three, somebody broke into it and took everything. They left my bed, my couch, and my table. They took the chairs. Because God had to raise his voice at me. So at this point, I need a change, right? So guess what? I was going to college. So another friend of mine, Rhonda, she had graduated from school, from high school, gone on to U of H and suggested that I join her there, and I did. She was kind enough to find me a roommate and to let me stay at her apartment while my apartment was getting ready. Now listen, it was a lot of folk up in that apartment. Let me just go and say that. In fact, I had to keep my toiletries in the kitchen cabinet. I did. Salt, pepper, hot sauce, toothpaste, toothbrush, deodorant, right there in the kitchen cabinet. And listen, I did not care. I put my stuff right on in that kitchen pantry, glad to have a shelter in the event of a storm. I was just waiting until our apartment was ready, and I was fine with it. So listen, the phone company eventually transferred me down to Houston, and I worked at several different phone centers at the time. You used to have to go to an individual place to get your phone service hooked up. So the last place that I went, I worked for a lady named Ann Hickman. Ann Hickman was my manager when AT&T, the one that we know now, started to buy up the regional phone companies. So y'all know what happens when you start merging and buying out. People start losing their jobs. And so that started to hit the phone centers. One day, pink slip came with my name on it. Listen, Ann Hickman would not lay me off. In fact, I heard her in there talking to her second line manager saying, no, I'm not going to let her go. She's in college. She's working hard. She's a good employee. I'm not going to let her go. What I later found out is that Ann Hickman was a first line manager with no degree. She was not going to let that happen to me. She wanted me to finish college. So she told me, you keep coming to work until I tell you not to. So that's what I did. I come into the phone center, stick my head in her office. She'll wave me on in. I must have did that at least 3 weeks in a row. She kept waving me on to the back. I just kept going on. Oddly, that same company ended up offering me a position in management, first line. That would have meant I had to quit college. By now, I am a first semester senior. Accounting was my major. And I would have had to move to St. Louis as well as drop out of college. I remember calling my mom and asking my mom what she thought. They were offering me $24,000 at the time. And my mom was like, girl, you better try to take that job. That's a lot of money. Ain't nobody gonna pay you that kind of money again. That's a full-time job with benefits and $24,000. You better take it. This was 1983, 84, something like that. I'm not really sure why I called, because I was really never gonna take that job, because I was not gonna drop out of college. I mean, I'm a senior. So I passed on the position. But I think the thing that really resonated with me more than anything right then is that all of those thoughts that I had about women, I mean, even the kindness of Rhonda to let me stay at her place, Ann Hickman to make sure that I get her job, it wasn't really about women. What I needed was to elevate my circle of women. I needed to surround myself with godly women, women with a passion, women with a purpose. I needed to surround myself with women who were trying to be Christ-like, trying to be better, trying to do better. That's what I needed. And when I allowed God to elevate my circle, that was a game changer for me.
The whole elevate your circle, baby. Listen, I don't know if that's your book. I don't know if that's your I don't know if that's the title of your TED Talk. I don't know what we're going to do with them words, but elevate your circle. I'm going to tell you, listen, oh man, you had the virtual pews lit like all the way through. Jay Bashir, she's in Arizona. Hey, Jay. She says your circle matters. Absolutely.
Yes,
and clearly
yes.
this story illustrates this. Tangi Stephanie. Hey, Tangi. Tangi says, like Michelle Obama says, when they go low, we go high. But I love that, you know, she also says envy is ugly. And so sometimes, you know, listen, even that look that you gave was not, I'm going to go high. The look was like, listen, I'm about to repent. Whatever's going to happen, me and Jesus going to be just fine. Me and you not.
That's where I was. That's where I was at that point right then. It was all over my face.
Oh my God.
It's gonna jump off up in here right now in this whole auditorium.
See, and then Rose says that's where she says that's where I went wrong. My circle was of a low nature. She had posted earlier about being in Black woman recovery. I'm in Black woman recovery because you know, too often we are not kind to ourselves. Audre Lorde, though, the prophet and poet, says that for whatever reason, Black women seem to reserve like this visceral anger for each other. We will love, take care of, support, nurture everybody else, but somehow when it comes to each other, we're just especially we just lack the grace. Right. But yes, surrounding yourself, Saintly says, surround myself with godly women. Amazing. Absolutely. Dr. Lamb, like, yes, let me. Wanda said, I like the elevation of your circle. Listen, that language, there were a couple of things that you said. When you said sometimes God has to raise his voice, several people commented on that. Sometimes God has to raise his voice. Like, but even, and like I told everybody, I told y'all that, you know, when there were going to be parts of this story where she was just going to like, just kind of name some stuff. So when you start talking about your friend being murdered and then the abduction, and of course, like people who have followed Alexis Roner or Untitled Productions, you have heard the story about your abduction. But even the way that you tell it, Miss Coleman, is tinged with so much humor and grace. You were like, okay, look, through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. And what you say, Toya, you say when they say grace and mercy, what you do with them hands?
Grace and mercy.
Both of them
Both my hands go up. Both of them. Both my hands go up.
Both of them go up. I absolutely love it. But listen, tell us quick. Let me just give the audience a teaser. Miss Coleman talked about when we were doing the tech rehearsal, and we all, Lynette, the minister of flavor and musical vibes, was again, and I, like I've tried to warn y'all, Toya will say some things and then she just drop out. And we're like, okay, wait, but what you're not going to do is leave us hanging like in that space. And so when Toya at the tech rehearsal, Toya said something about the, and like several abductions or you said several stalkers. Yeah, several stalkers. And so right before we closed out, Lynette was like, okay, now I'm going to need to know a little something about this stalker.
That's my real life. But this is the thing. This is the thing that gets me. That's my real life.
Oh,
that is not, you know how y'all know you meet some people and you just walk away from them thinking, now I know they're making that up. I would walk away saying, I'm telling y'all, I'm not even lying. I could do an entire show
You
on
can.
stalkers. I
Yes.
could do an entire show on stalkers. And that's my real life.
But I love the one where you said your brother was like, okay, well, we've been like, you've been on this stalker thing for a minute, because the first stalker, tell that one quickly.
No, what I would rather do, Lex, if it's okay, is to just discuss how I don't know if she's listening or not, or even if my dad is listening. One stalker was calling my office, talking about poetry and all of that stuff. Then he started calling my house, trying to tell my father that he needs to go ahead and he needs to come over and talk to hey, baby, my mama shut that down. To this day, I don't know what my mama said, but homeboy stopped calling. He ain't trying to get back. Hey, my mother's like, we done call the police. I mean, dude.
But you know what? Your mama done threatened to take her earrings off like several occasions. Like she was like on task.
Yeah. Even when they stole clothes from me in high school, my mother went up to the school. I mean, and it's tragic that she had to do that. But she went up to the school because now listen, the struggle is real. We're not trying to have y'all take these clothes after
exactly.
I
was gonna say
after we bought them. It's
right.
nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah.
So but when Leslie Davis, that was his name, he's calling my office. We figured out he would call every day from 2 to 3. So we felt like that must be the time for his phone privileges, just that little window. And he would call, and I'll save that for later, like you say, a teaser. That's
my goodness, that's
my real life.
Yes,
it's my real life.
And listen, I introduced you by saying through many dangerous toils or snares, she has already come. And the way she tells these dangerous toils and snares just requires some cocktails. Tangi said, God uses our experience to do ministry. Our experience don't belong to us. Absolutely, Tangi Stephanie. That is what I am constantly telling folks consistently. They don't belong to us. We have to say it. Rhonda said, hey, Toya, your stories are funny. Good vibes. Good vibes.
That was like, my pantry friend. That's my I had my stuff in her pantry. Salt, pepper, hot sauce, toothpaste. Okay,
listen, we bless Rhonda today because Rhonda is good people. Yes. Okay, Tangi's getting some love here. Hey, Tangi says, yes, we could do a whole show on your stalker. But again, not that stalking is funny or any of that. But what I love is that you are guarded. You're protected. The Lord has had you this whole time. You're good.
The whole time. Mm-hmm.
The whole time. Mm-hmm. You are good.
And that's why, listen, I'm going to tell you something. That's why when they say grace and mercy, both my hands come up. Because it is, those stories did not have to end the way that they've ended. Right. I've shared with Unshackled Productions that if those people, when I was abducted and taken outside of Dallas, I do sincerely believe, because we went down some long, dark road, they would still to this day be looking for my body. Wow. I mean, it was just the grace and mercy of God.
There it is.
That allowed a truck to come by and pick me up.
But it wasn't just that. There was also the sound of the snake hissing.
Oh, it was a whole lot of stuff. You know the story.
You was prepared to stay put. You was like, I ain't jumping up out of there. And then you hear that snake. You jumped up out of there. You knew what to do. Wanda said, your mama said to him, what I say, and he understood.
Absolutely. I don't know to this day what happened. Hey, that man ain't called my house after he had a conversation. And he had a conversation with my daddy, but he called back. He ain't called back after he had a conversation with my mama. That's over. That whole thing is over.
I love it. And Rhonda says, but God.
Amen.
Ms. Coleman,
Amen.
I just
Praise
love
Jesus.
you. And I so appreciate just the way that you show up, with me in this space, all of that. I told y'all there was going to be a ton of questions, and now we have to bring you back. So we're going to have to figure out the other part of that, but y'all see how she flow. So let me put you backstage. Don't hang up.
I won't.
Okay. I tried to warn y'all. I did my part. I told you that she was going to come out and it was going to be gangbusters and you was going to be all kinds of like different. Different and wonderful. Lonnie says, Toya, you're such a treasure wrapped with a beautiful comedic bow. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hashtag cosign on what Lonnie Q said. Okay. So before I let you go, there are 4 things that we do here at Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine. The first is we offer a public lament. Here is here's what I want to lament today. Let me give you some context. And it's connected to the whole concept of my friend who is selling these rocks, with these healing qualities, and the fact that this is like a real thing that people like, people believe in these rocks and what they can do for you. So years ago, I went to a faith gathering in Los Angeles, and I was invited by a sister friend, and I had met her at a film festival in Miami, and we were both creatives, and we were looking, to build our creative brand and to do these amazing things. And we both were going to be in LA this particular weekend for a thing. And so we're like, hey, let's hang out, whatever. So I was excited to hang out with her, but I was most excited about this church that she kept saying. And she kept calling the church. And she kept saying that she wanted, they have this meditation service, and then they have the regular service. And so I was like, yo, I want to go to this, I need to go to this church where they have a meditation service, like Psalm 1 verse 2 directs us to meditate on the word of God. So I'm like, yo, who are these people that are actually doing this work, right? So I was super excited. So we get to the space, and I'm the only one. The first thing I noticed is that I'm the only one who's carrying a Bible as we're walking through the parking lot. Big space. We had to park, from a distance. So there are a lot of people that are walking up. I'm the only one with the Bible in my hand. So I thought, And then they closed the meditation service at 8 a.m. So if you're not in place by 8, then you have to just kind of hang outside the sanctuary space until like 8:30, when they open it for the regular service. So since we didn't make it inside the sanctuary for the meditation service, we then just start to peruse the bookstore. And so then I began to see all of these texts, and I'm seeing crystals, and I'm seeing, just a lot of very different paraphernalia from what I was accustomed to. And I was like, oh Lord, where am I? And so meditation service ends. We go into the sanctuary. We sit in the back. I'm like, I don't know what this is. We need to sit in the back and by a door. Like that was what needed to happen. But also it just so happened that there were so many people there that we couldn't get a seat up close, even if we wanted to. But by the grace of God, we were seated in the back. And the opening song was a beautiful West African woman who did an original song called No Inhibition. And it was upbeat, it was fun, and it was all about like releasing your inhibitions and being free and, just trusting yourself and all of these things. And so I love the message. I thought it was really cool. Then she begins to do this African dance, like at the end, you had the drummer and she was dancing, and it was beautiful, and the crowd was yelping. And then there was this old white man behind me who yelled out, "Ooh, shake it, baby." Now, that was the first time I had ever heard that comment in a religious gathering or faith gathering. So I'm getting all of these clues, okay, that this space is different. This is different. And then the minister comes up, and he leads everyone in like breathing exercises, like deep breathing exercises. And then he says in the middle of his message that he's having this, I think it was Carlton Pearson who was going to be speaking. And he was like, Carlton is coming, and he's coming to promote his book, God is Not a Christian. The whole church erupts in applause and laughter. And it was like just this raucous moment of celebration at the idea that God is not a Christian. And so I'm looking around, and I was not afraid of where I was. I was sad. I was sad that I was in a space where people were so deeply wounded by folks who identify as Christian, that the last thing they wanted to do was to be affiliated, be connected to, or hear from anybody who said that they identified as a Christian or that they were in any way affiliated with the church. They would rather trust in rocks. And so I lament that there is an experience a real experience that people have with people who have been who have interacted with, folks who identify as members of the body of Christ, and the only thing that they have for the interaction is pain and regret, and they go as far away as they can from it. I lament that. Even as recent as last night, I was on a performance panel with a woman, beautiful songstress, and she's an author as well, and she's about to release a book called "What to Do with Church Hurt" or something. Tiffany, if you're in the virtual pews and I messed that up, please forgive me. Post it in the chat, Tiffany, if you're in the virtual pews, and so that I can get that name right. But in any case, it's the story of church hurt, and it's the story of how it's real and some other options that you can do outside of leaving the church. But I only say that to say that church hurt is real. And I lament that I was in a space with people, a crowd of folks who were united on the fact that it is good to have access to a God that we can get to through these rocks, because getting to this God through the people of faith has been very difficult and been a painful journey. I lament that. Here's my prophetic hope. Last week we talked about Isaiah 11, and I was trying to get us to the part where the prophet says, "And by his words, ... And the directive was for all of us to go into the week and to begin to speak and to declare, by my word, ... But I kept going back over that particular prophetic text. And here's the part that I think is important and is necessary, that gets us to the ability to be able to declare, by my word, ... Scripture says, the spirit of the spirit of the Lord will rest on him. It says the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and power, the spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord, which then leads him to watch his behavior, how he lives, how he shows up, how he does justice, how he serves the poor. And then it says, and by his word, ... My prophetic hope is that as you have experienced, as you have witnessed, and perhaps even as you have been one of those who wounded with your words, one of those who somebody right now is coming into your mind, like, I remember this experience, and I need to, I wish I had done that differently or something. We are not in control of how people are going to react when we act the opposite, without wisdom, when we act without a good understanding, when we just decide, like I used to do for years and years. I was like, you know what? I'm a just clown because I can just repent. I got about 8 good repentance prayers. Me and Jesus gonna be just fine. Me and you, we might not be, but that's okay with me. I just want to be with Jesus, and I just want to, have my name written in the Lamb's Book of Life, and on and on. But in that experience, there was a song that only after attending that faith community did it make sense to me. You see, when you grow up, and Toya Coleman is the one who gave me this word. She's like, when you grow up and you make a decision for Jesus because like you trying to buy you some fire insurance. She says, you better read that fine print. You better read that fine print. And so I think that with gratitude for everything that comes, because I have cast my lots with the sovereign God as particularized in the person of Jesus Christ. The fine print requires that I do more. It requires that I do more. It requires that all of us do more. But here's the song. Here's the lyrics of that song. I think it was either Walter Hawkins or for some reason I feel like it was the Love Alive album. or may have been Andre Crouch, but these are the lyrics. The lyrics did not make sense to me way back then, but after this particular experience with these folks, the lyrics made much more sense. He says, you may ask me why I serve the Lord. Is it just for heaven's gain, or to walk the mighty streets of gold and to hear the angels sing? Is it just to drink from the fountain that never shall run dry, or to walk the streets of gold in the sweet old by and by? And then he says, but if heaven never was promised to me, neither God's promise to live eternally, it's been worth just having the Lord in my life. Living in a world of darkness, God came along and brought me the light. My prophetic hope is that you are not living just like, okay, look, I got heaven on lock and it's good. I pray that you remember that there are people who have been wounded, but they still with us. And so I pray that in the same way the prophet spoke this over Jesus, that you would declare that what the spirit that rests upon you will do, that spirit will be the spirit of wisdom and understanding. That spirit will be the spirit of counsel and power. That spirit will be the spirit of knowledge and fear of the Lord in terms of the way you show up in the world. That you would act justly. That whatever you can do for the poor or the oppressed, that you would leave no stone unturned or none of your resources untapped to get them what they need. And that it's not because you're trying to get some heavenly cool points, but just because that's what it looks like for you to walk in that sweet spirit in that space. There is work for all of us to do. And in operating in that spirit, then we can declare by my word, ... because we have all of the background, that part of it. So I pray for those folks that are still a part of that gathering. I pray for all of the folks who I encounter. I'd even posted a video about an exchange that I had at the coffee shop one Sunday morning when I was just trying to get in place before the sun came up, because that's my practice. And I felt like the barista was being, willful and being disrespectful. And I just got angry and I didn't say anything, but I snatched the coffee and I went all week first writing a bad narrative about her. She's a racist. She's this, that, or the other. Like she did that on purpose. But I kept going back to that particular experience. And I just regretted the way I handled it. And so that following Sunday at sunrise, going through the drive-through, that same barista is there. And I have a choice. I can act like I have not lamented that whole week and I hadn't been checked in my spirit, and just get my coffee and keep it moving. Or I could yield to the sweet, gentle way in which God was saying, what I say. And I felt like by at first admitting where I had failed, apologizing to her, and praying that, and I said, I pray that you don't have anybody for the rest of this day who acted the way I did. That was horrible. I pray that you have good people. And she and I chatted for a minute, and I gave her, I had like $10 cash with me, and I, gave her this $10 tip. It's been worth just having the Lord in my life. If heaven was not on the agenda, what I don't ever want is to be surrounded by people who are so wounded by what I believe and by people who believe in what I believe that they just decide, I'm good without God, and they decide to go with them rocks. Ashe. Energizing memory. This morning I had a photo shoot and my makeup is still like all jacked up because I've been sweating. I've been under lights all day, but this was a professional photo shoot that I had for my 50th birthday. And I thought about how cool it was to have just these professional photographers capture me doing these different things. I'm going to be profiled in a magazine made for a May-June issue here in Raleigh. And so I just, I was grateful for that photo shoot a couple of years ago, and then the one that I had today. I pray that y'all are doing these easy things like having folks take your picture. Do the easy stuff. Do the stuff that I'm like, yo, this is too easy to not do, and make room for it. And then the fourth and final thing in Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine. Normally, that says give. Normally, we talk about lament, the prophetic hope, the energizing memory, and then giving. But I have been I've been wrestling with giving up on some things. I've been reading Augustine and, of course, the prophet Audre Lorde. And there is something that I've not been able to shake it. When we talk about giving, it's always like, oh, I've got to give, from what I have to what you don't have, and then go from there. But I thought giving up felt like a bigger and more important concept in terms of what we've discussed this week. I want you to give up silence. Give up silence. Don't be silent about something that you've done that you're like, oh, I need to get that right. Don't be silent about when you see something that should not have been done. Don't be like, look, that ain't none of my business. I'm like, The Spirit of the Lord rests upon you. The spirit of counsel and power. Act on that. Give up silence. Say something. Speak up. Give up the belief that there is no paradox. One of the things that I love about this platform is that by telling stories and by seeing how a lot of times our narratives are not linear and easy, and how there are other people who will come on and they could tell the story of a stalker or the story of God raising God's voice, and it not be nearly as funny or nearly as engaging as Toya. And that is okay. Paradox is a word that I have been like really thinking about a lot over the past couple of weeks. And I think it is because I am really having to shed on a deeper level this idea that, it can be, like both and is very uncomfortable for me. I'm not the person who condemns the people who sat in that room and they are more comfortable with rocks than they would be with me as a Christian. Paradox. But I believe in what Toya Coleman said, when God raises God's voice. I know for a fact that when God tells me, hey, listen, what I say, I can show you better than I can tell you. Okay, you can show me better than you can tell me. You can show them as well. I'm going to trust in that. So I'm going to give up the belief that there is no paradox. I want you to give up the belief that you are powerless. Audre Lorde, the prophet and poet, talked about how we need to not allow even the powers that be to decide for us what is most important, or to decide what we can do and cannot do. This past week, we saw a fuck ton of tragedy. There has been one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. And one of the things that we might resolve to do is just say, oh, I'm powerless. It's hopeless. I can do nothing. That is not true. The spirit of counsel and power rests on you. By your word, ... Began to own and to cultivate that power. So give up the belief that you are powerless. And also give up the belief that what you know or believe is a plug and play faith. Plug and play. That, okay, this is how I got it and this is how you can get it. Okay, that's how you got it because that is what the sovereign God, how God worked for you. Make room for God to be God and to show up for others in the same way that God miraculously showed up for you. That's what sovereignty looks like. Sovereignty says, I got this. Go and do what I tell you to do. The spirit of counsel and power rests upon you. By your word, create the world that we need to be in. ... So give up the belief that what you know or believe is a plug and play truth. And trust in God's ability to untwist our distortions. For everyone who was in that space that was wounded and they cheered, God is not a Christian. And the way that they just kind of all collectively fed off of this particular experience that they've had with Christians. I'm like, okay, I trust that God has the capability and the ability to untwist all of their distortions and to make room for them to be who they need to be and to do what they need to do in the right time. Miss Coleman had a series of tragedies and different things that happened. It pointed her in the direction that she needed to go. She didn't continue to buck against that. God raised God's voice. And she said, okay. She answered what God said. So before we close out, before we go into our blessing and our sending, okay, looks like we gotta, let me just go here to the virtual pew. Rose says silent punches. Edith is like, wonderful. Oh, Wanda, thank you. I so enjoyed this. Love your journey. Blessings, sis. Great storytelling. Yes, indeed. Gertie is like, you need to write a book. Miss Coleman, Elevate Your Circle. That's the name of your book. I'm gonna need a dedication in there some way. But shout out to Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine too. Like put all of us in there. You need to write a book. Wanda said, why do you, oh, that's the name of, thank you, Wanda. The name of Tiffany's book. Why do you hate the church? I'm looking forward to that. And I'll try to pull Tiffany on here to promote that book when it's ready. Rose says, folks so deeply wounded by members who identify as the body of Christ prefer otherwise. At church hurt is real. Absolutely. Shay is like, oh, that was Andre Crouch. Okay. I attributed, I knew it was one of them. Andre Crouch and the Love Alive album were on heavy rotation in Emma Mean's household. Alexis, the book is called Why Do You Hate Your Church? Okay, thank you, Edith and Wanda. We were all on that event last night. That is by the Heritage Singers. If heaven was never promised to me. Okay, Wanda knows like that. Wanda is my singer. Yield to the sweet, gentle way. Absolutely. Yes. Okay, and Miss Stephanie's like that we will go forth being filled with the fruit of the Holy Spirit, which is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Amen and amen. Thank you for sharing. This is definitely discernment and the ability to take the heat of the Spirit of God. Absolutely. That's what we're trying to do. And it does not, God sometimes, and when I call it the paradox, it's like it would be nice if God said, do this, that, or the other. But sometimes God speaks through speaks through the Spirit. And when we know how to hear, then we also have a more comfortable way of showing up. Give up silence. Yes. Let's give up silence. Give your voice. Speak up. Speak on it. When you run out of patience, roll on over into long suffering. I know that's one of your favorite quotes, Mama. Rhonda, Alexis, thanks so much for jumping out of the box and being willing to go the way Jesus commanded. I love the way you minister. Bless you, Rhonda. And listen, I am so grateful for everyone in the virtual pews. And the way that y'all are just so awesome, the way you show up week by week and you take in all of these amazing storytellers. I told y'all I got you. Like, listen, there are a ton of solutions. I call them solutions. Your stories are solutions. And Ms. Coleman has given us some solutions. Last week we had Trina. Next week, before I let you go, before we close out, I want to plug this beautiful person here. She is a master storyteller, Miss Fatima Halim. And the story that she's going to share is one that she performed live at another storytelling set. And I love this particular story. It's set in New York. It's so mystical. It's so beautiful. It's so profound. And so is she. She's an amazing person to listen to receive from. And so join us next week as we return to the virtual pews, okay, for our blessing and our sending. Love is not an option. It is a command. May the command to love lead us towards creative solutions. May the command to love lead us in gentle ways towards where we've not been loving, where we can show up different and better and make a difference. And by our words, we can say, you will no longer be hurt by the church where I'm at, because I'm going to love you. I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to honor and be a conduit of the very best that God has. Ashe, Selah, so be it. Thank you so much for joining me today. So we'll be here next week. 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Follow me on Facebook, on Instagram, Alexis Roan, Lex Unshackled. Go to my website and you'll be able to see all of the other events that I have coming up. But tonight was just like Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine is just my way of showing up and ministering according to the gifts of my insight. So blessings to all of you for receiving me in the way that I am. And I pray that you have a blessed week. Go love well.
My funny Valentine, sweet comet Valentine, you